Hello and welcome to Tools in the Shed, a podcast powered by CarsGuide, ready to rip into car stuff that's caught our eye this week. I'm James, and with me is Richard.
Hello.
Who's been looking at quality of the South Korean variety, and M4, who's been sweating it out in the hottest part of the Aussie new car market.
That's me.
And we'll update you on the world's greatest blue sky, big picture, no bad ideas innovator in this week's Muskwatch. So stay with us. But first, some feedback from last week. Welcome, as always. Thank you very much. SC has a theory as to why we're so far underground, in the shed here. We mentioned last week that someone accused us of, is this a bunker or a shed? And I said, look, you don't know how far underground we actually are.
Yeah.
Nice.
And we'd engaged the boring company to get us down to this depth.
Of course.
That's why it gets a bit warm in here. We're
Very warm.
so far down. And he said that so Elon's lawyers can't find us. And I don't know. I don't think we say anything in Muskwatch that's actionable. We credit all our sources. I think we're reporting facts.
Well, we're reporting what's on the internet.
Yeah.
We're reporting
And that's all true.
web facts.
Exactly. That's
So,
not fake news at all.
I understand what you're saying, SC. Thank you for the feedback. Hammer Rocks
Yes.
is fascinated by Richard's ink.
Oh.
He's seen the semi-naked woman, the V8 badge. There's El Diablo, the
Yep.
devil is in there.
Yep.
And he guesses they point to some, quote, vast and unique life experiences. Or are they just ones you saw on the board when you went in the
Just
tattoo
walked
parlour?
in and
Yeah,
just said, I'll have that
I like
one,
that
please. I'll have that one, please.
I got a
Oh,
patch here.
Yeah,
Need to
yeah.
fill
Got
it.
a room? Got a room? Yep.
But some of them are no doubt, connected with things that you've done or whatever.
It's a very, very rich tapestry of my life, Hammer. You're right on the money there. Let's have a drink one day and we'll go through them all.
You don't want to know where the rest of them are.
All right, now, Richard,
You might find out.
thank you for that. And Richard, let's stick with you.
Yep.
I mentioned that we were talking about quality and of the South Korean variety, but it's awarded by, a North American organisation. Fill us in. What's going on?
That's right. The annual JD Power initial quality study results have come out for 2019. Those of you who don't know, JD Power is a big market research company in the United States. They don't just do cars, they do food, everything which is sold to consumers. And this initial quality study is really, really interesting.
So do they judge the cars on taste and presentation, texture?
Aftertaste.
Umami.
Yeah.
Bit of an oaky palate.
Yeah.
No, what they do is it's based on the first 90 days of ownership. And they find out who's bought a car, they contact them, and they just ask them if anything's gone wrong. And as people do, people go, actually, the engine light keeps coming on, or the screen keeps, conking out, or just tiny little things.
Yep.
So it's not a reliability rating thing, long-term reliability rating thing. It's just an initial quality study.
It's a Niggle Award.
A Niggle
It's for
Award.
niggles.
Niggles are the
Yeah.
worst,
Yeah.
especially if you've just bought a new car and something goes wrong immediately. It can be the worst thing in the world. I've bought a new car before and there's been a squeak straight
Yeah.
away.
Yeah, right.
And it's so frustrating. Anyway, the results.
It was the hamster
It
running
was
the
a
engine.
hamster. I
Yeah.
didn't pay for it, but it's a
Hamster
Bonus
wheel.
hamster.
very happy to have him on board anyway. The big winners of the initial quality award have been the Korean car companies. We're talking Genesis, all from the same company, Genesis, Hyundai and Kia.
Yeah.
They reported the least number of, or the owners of those cars reported the least number of problems in their first 90 days.
In that 90 days.
Yeah. And that sort of reflects some of the things that we've seen as well. I mean, one of the issues that we face as reviewers is that we live in a new car world. We really don't know how this car's going to perform over 3 years or 5 years or 10 years. So we see everything first brand new.
And that's one of the hardest parts about the job is when people comment and say, "But what about the reliability of it?" Well, we can only put them up against each other.
Mind you, that said, we all do have some old bangers at home, in the garage.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, But I take your point.
Absolutely. Now, I just sort of run through the list for you. So this is how the major brands sort of fared. So the number of problems per 100 vehicles. Genesis had 63, Kia had 70, Hyundai 71, and the numbers get bigger. Right?
Yeah.
Ford 83, and there's some American brands in there like Lincoln, Chevrolet 85, Nissan 86, and it all goes all the way down to the bottom.
So would that indicate that if it's 100 vehicles and say there's 80, that one car might have had 3 or 4?
That's right.
that counts in that 80.
Exactly
So you've
right.
got a whole bunch of clean skin cars
Yep.
where people are perfectly happy,
Yep.
and
Yep.
a few that might be
Yep.
above the average, as it were.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And look, we've noticed it, ourselves over the last, 5 or 6 years, how far Hyundai and Kia have come, especially with that, the current generation i30. And the new Serato, which has just come out recently.
Yep.
We did our sporty hatch comparison, and it's outstanding quality. In fit and finish, and also value. But the particular focus of these initial quality study was on infotainment. That's becoming a big player.
Of course.
And also safety technology, how that works. Is your AEB going off unnecessarily?
Yep.
All that sort of interconnected stuff. So,
Did you unearth, Richard, what the typical problems were? What if someone's noted and ticked off, I had a problem.
Yep.
Does it have to get over a certain threshold before JD Power will kind of consider it
Absolutely.
as valid?
It has to be, an absolute an issue. It can't just be.
I don't like the way the door shuts. Or
The
something.
seats are uncomfortable.
That's right. Yeah.
It's got to be
a fault.
The windows stopped working.
Yeah.
The engine lights come on.
Yeah.
The screen's gone blank. Air conditioning is faulty. So actual legitimate faults. That you've experienced,
Yes.
and that you're most likely getting fixed under warranty.
Unreal.
So 63 problems
Yep.
per 100 vehicles.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's still not great.
To a novice, that still sounds like a decent number, doesn't it?
What was the worst?
Okay, so going down the list, we have got Honda 98, which is still a really good score. BMW 102. This was another really interesting
BMW
find.
102.
Is that your typical European prestige brands who you normally associate with really high quality cars, and they do produce very high quality cars, also experienced from their new buyers probably more issues.
Could greater complexity lead to greater potential for faults?
Look, I think so.
Yeah.
But one of the things that the researchers found was that the quality of the electronics of the Korean vehicles was outstanding.
Right.
Yeah.
So even compared to German, European cars, the Korean electronics was fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, should we be surprised with the likes of Samsung coming out
LG, all of these brands. I mean, these countries are renowned for producing high quality electric goods.
Yep.
And the cars are becoming electric goods. So,
And that has happened so rapidly.
Yeah,
Just
absolutely.
quickly to divert for a sec. First time I went to visit a South Korean car factory was in 1988. It was Hyundai's Ulsan plant, and it was scary. It was loud and dirty, and you felt kind of dangerous. There were things going on there that other countries' occupational health and safety people would have just been closing their eyes and wishing they'd never seen it.
Yeah.
And then I went back in 1995. It was quieter, lots of robots. The whole thing looked dramatically different.
Yeah.
And then I went there, same plant, a couple of years ago, clinically clean, state of the art, like leading in a lot of areas, a complete transformation in that period.
Yeah. What's interesting is that there aren't a lot of Chinese brands on that, and I would say that's probably because in the United States you probably aren't many.
Yep.
Also, Tesla's missing too.
Yeah,
and the reason for this is because Tesla does not allow the JD Power people to contact its buyers in some of its states. And what's interesting, it allows them to contact some of them, but some states have some regulations by what Tesla's put in place, and that those states take up about 70% of the ownership. So
Okay, well that's
California.
interesting. I mean,
that type of thing.
So the truth doesn't get out.
So so it's for a brand or a particular model from that brand. So Kia takes it out, or a particular Kia.
Oh look,
variant.
The Serato, which is what is it in the United
Forte.
States? The Forte in the United
Forte.
States scored extremely well. The Picanto did as well.
Yeah.
So Serato in Australia performed particularly well. Santa Fe did too. For Hyundai.
Wow.
Yeah, across the board, Hyundai and Kia went.
Well, there
and
it is. I mean,
Genesis.
a lot of the things that people have been talking about have been coming to pass for some time. That those brands are at a level where they can hold their head high and they lead the market.
Absolutely. Look, and we even see from the feedback we get, from the comparisons we do, from the people who buy these cars, I've heard nothing but really, really positive, reviews back from them.
Yep.
Of the quality and how much they're enjoying them. And I mean, in the end, we're doing this for you guys, and it's good to hear back that our initial sort of reviews and take judgments on these cars is spot on. So thank you.
All right. Well, look, that's all I was going to say is that's a perfect segue.
I just wanted to hear
Go for it.
I want to hear the bottom
You've
three.
ruined my segue. That's all right.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I have been.
I want to hear the bottom three.
I've been avoiding it. I've been avoiding it because I don't like naming names. Okay, so the bottom three. Are you ready?
You're not naming names. This is evidence from people who have had problems with cars that people should know.
That's right. Here's the bottom five. All right.
All right.
Volvo, Alfa Romeo, Mitsubishi, Land Rover, and Jaguar.
Right. And what numbers are we talking?
Okay. All right. Jaguar had 130.
130 per 100 cars.
So that's round about double the best result.
Land Rover had 123. Wow. Mitsubishi had 121. Alfa Romeo had 118, and Volvo had 140.
I got to say, I'm a little bit surprised by Mitsubishi being in there.
Yeah.
Volvo a little bit as well, but the others maybe not as much. Not as much.
No.
You know, you hear things. Anyway, back to your segue.
Sorry.
JC.
No, look, that's all past. That ship has sailed. But I was going to... Well, okay, I'll go back to it.
Yeah, go on.
Talking about comparisons. Richard mentioned comparisons.
Yes.
That's the pool you've been diving into.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a bubbling one.
Oh.
It's on the boil.
It's deep.
Tell us what we've been up to.
It's deep. It's full of sharks. No, I've been doing a mid-sized SUV comparison, one of the hottest parts of the market, as we know.
Yep.
And with four really, really interesting players in that mix. So we took our two equal first place getters from our last test, which was the Mazda CX-5 and the Honda CR-V. And they came out bang on, identical to the scores that we thought each deserved.
Righto.
But they both sort of had different strengths.
Spoilers. Beware of spoilers here.
Yeah, this is from the last test.
Very good. Thank you.
This time around, we decided that we were going to go for a higher price point. So high spec, high grade models. The top spec version of the Honda CR-V, for example, the VTI LX. We also had the Mazda CX-5 GT with the new 2.5 litre turbo engine, which I think a few of us have experienced.
Great
and
engine.
We all sort of know.
Great engine.
It's a humdinger.
Yep.
And then we also had the all-new Subaru Forester, which we haven't had a chance to compare to any of its competitors up to this point, and the all-new Toyota RAV4, which we had as the top spec hybrid version of that car.
And it reminds you how much churn there's been in that market in terms of new model arrivals.
Yeah. And I mean, it's probably not coincidental that their life cycles do match up pretty close for some of the Japanese brands. And it was really interesting to put these vehicles against each other at that price point, because when you're shopping at $32,000 to $34,000, it's a whole different kettle of fish. Like they're different levels of impressive for that price point. And as we found in our test, some of the ones in it maybe didn't stack up that well because of their price point. You know, they don't have all the things that you might want for that sort of money. We're talking between $42,000 and $47,000 price point. So the Mazda was the most expensive. The Subaru was the most affordable. The other two had a few $100 in between them at around 44.5. So
it's a lot of dough.
It's not a small amount of money. No. But I think the one of the key learnings of it was that, for instance, you can get better value if you don't have to spend that much. If you're not expecting to get the luxury bits in some of the models in the test, you'll have to wait and read and watch the review to see what I'm talking about.
Right.
But the test was, let's see what they're like to live with four people around town on the open road. Let's test their fuel consumption. Obviously, with the hybrid version of the RAV4, you know, at that price point, you can save about 50% of the fuel that you'll use in some of the other cars in that class. So it's pretty impressive in that regard.
And we tapped into our family reviewing resources.
Of course,
and mixed it up in that regard as well.
Yes, we had Nedahl Stelio on board. She basically took care of the family side of things. I don't have kids. She's got two. She's always putting her kids in and out of these cars and experiencing them. She's driven a lot of these sort of SUVs before. So her her experience was invaluable to this test to
Great.
tell us what she thinks and what a typical mum might want in that sort of class of car.
Great mix.
You know, whether you want that rugged interior look or if you want that luxury feel that maybe you get better in a Mazda than you do in a Honda. It sort of really was interesting for me to see what she
Fresh
thought.
perspective.
Yeah. And I'm hoping that people will find the same sort of value in the video that we put up as well. But also we obviously assess the practicality, you know, like boot space and rear seat space. There's a bunch of great photos of me, Mal Flynn and Jared from the office here sitting in the back, three across.
breasts, yeah.
And some of them were comfortable and some of them were not.
Well, that depends on whether you're sitting next to Mal or whether you're sitting next to Jared.
Mal was middle boy every time.
Oh, okay. All right.
He's
Well, there's
only
discomfort
middle
right there.
boy.
He's only little.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because I think a lot of people out there, you know, might think that, well, I've got this amount of money to spend. They're all really going to be the same. It's like going to a hardware store and buying a bucket, right? Aren't they all going to just hold water
And a mop?
And a mop.
Yeah.
But not all buckets and mops
Mops
are the same.
Some
Some have a ringer.
Some have a ringer.
Some don't. Some of the funny kind of wide.
Yeah.
Some of the old school cotton.
Yes.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yes.
Sorry.
Anyway,
just a quick mop.
basically,
mop and
yeah,
bucket.
yeah. I know what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying?
And the thing is, like, they are pretty close in terms of dimensions, in
Yep.
terms of boot space, in terms of rear seat space. And this is the beauty of this part of the market, is that people out there have got it so good, they get to choose exactly what they want. There's 20-something models in this part of the market.
Yes.
And there again, I mean, the variable is that different people have different priorities. You try and cover them off as far as you can to allow people to make that choice. Ultimately, yeah, we do make a call, you know, based on everything that we've assessed. We think this is the best package.
Yep.
But someone's going to come at that and go, oh, but actually, what I need, priority number one is this. I reckon it's that car. So it does enable people to make their own judgment in a way as well, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. And like, you know, on that point, we sort of felt that there are cars out there that just can't match what the others can for safety equipment, for example.
Righto.
Like the Honda, for example, is missing out on some items that the other cars all have. And so you sort of go, well, is that good enough for a top spec model to miss out on stuff when it's the same stuff is standard across the entire model range of its competitors?
Yeah.
And, you know, the ultimate judgment is no, it's not good enough.
Because
you know?
that kind of stuff is quite objective. There's no subjectivity in there.
Yeah.
It's here is the money and these are the features and it's possible to just line things up and go like for like.
Exactly.
You know, that's quite clear.
This is the type of thing that you just can't do in a dealership as well.
Yeah.
If you're trying to look at 4 different cars, like trying to spend a Saturday going out and trying to assess all this.
Yeah. You
It's
just
hard
get
enough.
3 friends.
Yeah.
You get one car. They go and test drive the other 3. And you just meet up for a quick
somewhere.
comparo.
Go for a loop.
Exactly.
Up and down the road.
I just want to try it out.
That's
I
it.
need to take it home, check it in the garage, make sure all that works. Everyone meet at my place.
That's it.
The
midday.
good thing is that more and more dealerships are now offering weekend tests, so you can take it away for the night, put it through your usual rigmarole, see what it's like.
Drive it like
Obviously.
you stole it. Bring it back the next morning. Just a bucket of bolts.
Yeah. I mean, dented, bashed.
I don't like it.
Yeah,
That's right.
it's not for me.
Yeah, can I try that one?
All right, so we're going to be seeing that review and the video
Yes.
pretty shortly.
Hopefully very soon, and look forward to hearing what everyone out there thinks of our
Excellent.
outcomes.
Very good. Now, we're going to move on to our garage and the vehicles that have been inhabiting that garage.
Yes.
And Richard, I'd like to start with you.
Yes.
Go ahead. Go. Green flag. What have you been driving?
I have been driving the Toyota RAV4 Hybrid. It's the very first RAV4 I've driven from the new generation.
So this is a different one to the one that was in our comparison test.
That's right, yeah. This is that beautiful blue one which you can see behind us right now. Just before this podcast, I ran up the top of a car park and took those lovely videos for us. And it's a beautiful car. Inside and out. I know the previous generation RAV4 quite well, or I've stood in front of it and presented videos, a squillion times, and I was aware of its sort of, its pros and its, it's probably not so, positive points.
There were a few.
There were a few.
Yeah.
This is outstanding. I mean, I want to start this by saying I hate hybrids. Like, seriously, they do nothing for the drivability of a car. They're not a good petrol car or a good electric car. I love electric cars. I love petrol cars. I don't like a combination of both.
Direct all comments to Richard Berry,
Yeah.
courtesy of YouTube, iTunes. That's fine.
Send them in. Send them in.
Yeah.
I love them.
Yeah.
Just in terms of drivability, pedal feel, all that type of thing. Hate how the engine clicks on. And I don't know if anyone else can hear it out there, but with hybrid and powertrains, I can hear that little really high pitched like buzzing. You know how
Yeah.
you've got the nose which can smell anything.
Yes,
Right? I've got the
yes.
ear which can hear every little mechanical sound, and that high pitched sort of sound in hybrids.
yeah.
kills
I have
me.
a nose that hopefully can smell everything.
Yeah.
Maybe there's stuff I'm missing out on.
In other ways, though, this RAV4 is so good. The quality, the fit and finish is superb. Just the suspension, the ride is so comfortable and
Yeah.
composed. Even the sound coming into the cabin. This is a lot of the times I was just driving in EV mode,
Yeah.
and you hear everything.
Yeah.
Everything is so stuck down well in that car,
Yeah.
and there's no road noise, hardly any road noise coming in. Very impressed.
And
the
that's-
ride so far.
You know what's really
Yeah.
funny about that? In isolation, I thought exactly the same thing about the RAV4.
Yep.
In our comparison test,
Yep.
it was the noisiest.
Are you
Which
serious?
is really strange.
What the?
Like,
And also,
and it's quiet.
Another
So-
point of contrast, Nedahl, we mentioned her
Yes.
just a couple of minutes ago, has driven the RAV4.
Mm.
She's not in love with the way the car looks.
Really?
So, yeah, and I've heard differing opinion,
Yes.
and it's obviously a very subjective one.
It
Yeah.
is.
And I, for one, really like it.
Mm.
She, not so much.
But
So-
then again, on the comparison, she pointed out that, the Mazda, obviously it's the sleek, pretty
Yeah.
one and the more luxurious looking car. And that appeals more to her
Yeah.
than the rugged,
which is
sharp
perfectly
edged
valid.
butch boy
It's-
thing.
yeah,
So
it's just different.
I just love how the RAV4's gone from being this cute little bubble car to just being this beast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's for years I've just wanted to be tougher to take on, brands like Hyundai with their 6, or Hyundai make a Santa Fe
Yeah.
and a Tucson.
Yeah.
And it just needs to be tougher like that, have that
Yeah.
presence.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Now, sorry, we've got to keep rolling.
Righto.
And M4.
Yes.
Matt, what have you been steering?
I was in the Kona EV, the Hyundai Kona EV. Now, it was my first time driving that car, and obviously it's got amazing electric range, 465 kilometres or whatever it
And
may
it's
be.
Hyundai's financial flagship.
It's
It's the most expensive Hyundai you can buy.
Yeah,
is.
up near
In
70,
Australia.
70 odd
Yes.
$1,000.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money for a very little car.
To get it on the road, what's a e-Pace cost? That's quite a lot of money. I-Pace.
I-Pace,
Yeah.
it's
The electric one.
almost
Yeah.
130 or something.
Wow.
Okay,
I think.
so nothing to do with that one. Sorry
No.
about that. Yep.
It's expensive,
Yeah.
but it's expensive for a Hyundai, right?
It is, that's right.
For a Hyundai EV.
Yep.
Yeah. What about the Picanto? Sorry, that's nothing to do with it.
You're
as well.
silly. I thought to myself while I was driving it, am I getting anything out of this that I wouldn't get out of the Ioniq EV? Of course, you're getting double the range, thereabouts. If you don't need double the range, if you just drive around the city, there's no need.
That's such a
That's
huge
like-
factor. Totally
And
agree.
obviously, it's an SUV, and that's going to appeal to
Yep.
the vast majority of buyers, where an Ioniq with that slopey roof and the 5-door hatchback style is going to be more, well, niche.
Yeah. Well, an Ioniq is what, $40,000? 45?
Yeah.
Yeah.
40, I think it's 42 or something for
Yeah.
the base one.
Yeah. And look, I mean, exactly. Do you need to go 450 kilometres?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How often do you do that?
There's probably a couple of motivations here, isn't there? There's Hyundai's motivation in bringing this car to market and
Mm-hmm.
making a statement. Maybe they're not thinking about selling a whole bunch of them, but they want to let people know that this is where they're heading.
Yeah.
And then those customers that do shell out their big bucks to acquire one, they're making a statement as well. About I don't mind. I want to be environmentally friendly, or I want to. Whatever it might be,
Yep.
It's a relatively niche group of people. We know that.
Yeah, and I applaud Hyundai for having something like this in the market because, well, is there another small SUV that's electric in Australia? No, there's
no.
not. So,
They've definitely got a lot of guts to do it.
Yep.
Also, I've been sort of investigating how they store their batteries in that car. And there are a lot of EV websites out there which have absolutely fascinated because they're doing it quite differently to regular electric vehicles
Yep.
in terms of their cells. It's really, really interesting stuff.
Yeah.
That car is a lot more advanced than people think it is.
yeah.
I normally store the batteries in the little bin between the seats. If I've got AAAs, I'll probably keep them in the bag.
But-
if they're double A's, I might go in the door pocket.
But they'll rattle around there.
Yeah.
They will. Now, look, moving on. I've been driving Mazda 3 sedan.
Oh.
So we're all familiar with the Mazda 3 hatch. That's been around in Australia for a little while. So now it's a 4-door booted sedan, and it's about $29,000 for the touring grade, which is the one that we've had. And the reason you're there is the boot. All right. So it's bigger than the hatch in terms of its volume.
Yep.
It's about 35% more capacity. The constraint, of course, is the aperture to the boot or trunk for our American listeners and viewers. That distance between the base of the rear screen and the lip of the boot.
Yep.
You can't fit big things through that.
Yeah.
But the capacity is there. If you've got suitcases and kind of conventional stuff, you can put a lot of stuff in there.
Yep.
It's on the same wheelbase. It's the same width, but it's about 20 centimetres longer in the body than the hatch. So what you find is that's all gone into the boot. And I've got to say, sitting in the back seat, I felt behind my driving position, I felt there was a little more legroom than there was in the hatch doing the same trick with that car. On the other side of the ledger, I did find the suspension tune definitely firmer.
Yeah, okay.
I felt it was firmer than the hatch. I was feeling little imperfections and bumps and what have you way more than I had in the hatch. So
Very interesting.
there
Really
you go.
interesting.
Yeah.
We found that the hatch ride in that G25 Evolve on the sporty hatch comparison to be just really good.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well,
there you go.
we might be doing another small hatch comparison soon, so
Yes.
you'll have to stay tuned and see how the hatch.
and it's
stacks
a
up
little
again.
more conventional. It's still a very pretty car, but it's a little more conventional in its design treatment.
It is more of a. I reckon it's more appealing in terms of aesthetics on a conservative level.
Because you're a hatch disliker.
I don't like
and
the
I
Mazda
think,
3
Richard,
hatch.
you're a liker.
I'm a lover.
I'm a liker.
See,
and-
I just don't like the back 3/4 sort of angle of that car.
Well, but then of course you're nuts. So that explains
I think
it.
it's a beautiful bottom. It's a beautiful bottom.
Whereas the Mazda 3 sedan's boot is quite just the slope of the roof and the way that it's almost just like a Mazda 6 that they've shrunk to 80%.
It's a little more classical. It's not quite as adventurous as the hatch, but it's still a pretty car.
I
It's
wouldn't
still
buy
very,
I wouldn't
very
buy a
good
sedan
car.
ever.
No.
I don't think sedans are smart.
Well, look, speaking of smart, we all know one person who is always the smartest person in the room, which means it's time for Muskwatch. So, we can kick it off. Last weekend was Elon's wild tweet weekend.
Wow.
He
wasn't it?
basically just went on a frenzy of tweeting. He tweeted that basically he just deleted his Twitter account on Twitter, which of course is hilarious. And
He's so
then
meta.
that came after a tweet targeting Tesla co-founder Martin Eberhard, who, along with Mark Tarpening, were the two people who initially had the idea of putting an electric motor in a Lotus lease.
Yep.
And Elon Musk came in as an investor and quickly joined those two guys. And he, for legal reasons, is now considered to be a co-founder. But I'd say technically there's possibly a question mark over that. Anyway, they had a bad falling out. So he tweeted, "Tesla is alive in spite of Eberhard, but he seeks credit constantly and fools give it to him." The tweet was later deleted. So he's gone out there and said that.
Is that because it's defamation?
Then he was called out en masse for tweeting fan art of the character 2B from Nier Automata without crediting the artist. And he's got a bit of form in that regard.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what Nier Automata was. Okay, hand up. I went
is it?
to that
I still
source
don't know.
of all information, Wikipedia,
Yep.
and says it's an action role-playing game set in the midst of a proxy war between machines created by otherworldly invaders and the remnants of humanity.
That's
Wow.
just the Matrix,
So
isn't it?
Elon must go there. He's in that world.
Oh, yeah.
Because
I believe that.
previously he loved a coffee cup where this guy had printed a farting unicorn on the cup, and he tweeted a picture of it, my favourite cup. Then he basically copied that artwork, put it into his cars. So Tesla's had that as kind of screen art, and didn't credit anybody. And his response was, "Well, I'm giving you massive exposure."
Not if you're
And
not
the artist
saying who it
went, "Well,
was.
No, you're not.
Yeah.
You're actually stealing my intellectual property.
Yeah.
Passing it off as your own.
So
Pay
this
royalties,
person who
mate.
had created this character art for Near Automata was not happy about that. That was taken down.
Understandably.
He then changed his Twitter name to daddy.com and had his icon changed to a black circle. I thought it was Kim.com, the big German guy in New Zealand. Because you remember in February he changed his name to Elon Tusk.
Yes.
For some reason. Anyway, now his avatar is a toy gorilla
Yeah.
holding a bottle of Bombay Sapphire Gin,
Yeah.
which of course is a reference to Harambe.
Is it?
From R.I.P. Harambe fame from April 1, right?
What about the gin?
R.I.P. Harambe sipping on some Bombay.
Oh.
So it's Harambe, right? But he's obviously bored because he can't tweet as much about Tesla, which puts me in mind of bored Elon Musk. And if you are not following bored Elon Musk on Twitter, you should be. Shout out to bored Elon. Some of his ideas are absolutely, subscribe to bored Elon. Tell him that the tools in the shed sent tools in the shed sent you.
Yeah.
He's come up with things like the ability to upvote and downvote other drivers on the road.
Yes, like that one.
Sounds fantastic.
Yep.
Scanner for your junk that automatically lists any items on eBay that have a high probability of selling.
I mistook scanner for your junk.
Well, there's that too. Sliding electrical outlets. So rather than them just being fixed in the wall, there's a slide where you can move them around
That's
the
amazing.
room. That's sensational.
That's brilliant.
A service that lets you subscribe salespeople to 1,000 email lists they never asked to be on, which is a nice get. Shoulder tapping drone that flies over to tap someone on the shoulder when you haven't responded to an email that they've sent you.
Wow.
That would be good.
Perforated egg carton that lets you tear off each row that no longer contains eggs. So you can save space in the fridge. That's genius.
He's
So bored Elon Musk. Get onto it. And the guy is a genius.
Imagine if bored Elon Musk is really
Elon Musk.
Oh my God.
Tell him the tools sent you. Now, moving on, the Daily Express has claimed that Elon Musk is quote-unquote humiliated as NASA boss Jim Bridenstine says SpaceX Crew Dragon explosion on April 20, and I remember we covered that in the podcast, has no doubt delayed the flight program. And the context here is that the USA has been relying on Russia for crew transfers up to the International Space Station and back again. And that's a point of pride. They're not really thrilled about that. So NASA has awarded close to 10 billion Aussie dollars to SpaceX and Boeing to develop their separate capsule systems. So a senior NASA manager said SpaceX is hoping to take corrective actions to launch 2 astronauts to the ISS, but Mr. Bridenstine's comments hit out at Mr. Musk's goal for this year. An investigation is still underway. They were originally going to do a manned flight in July, i.e. next month, but they've already done an unmanned round trip. So it's all been thrown akimbo because of that explosion.
Oh, look, as somebody who sort of follows this quite closely, I think that's a really dangerous comment for that NASA chief to make, because nobody wants to hurry up any type of space launch which is involving human beings.
Think about the lives of the people that are putting themselves at risk.
Exactly, and think about Elon, like that. A type of deadline sort of comment like that is going to make him probably cut it. I don't know.
He's like a kid with ADHD. You can't push them.
Exactly.
Well, speaking of that, the tweets that he has put out there relating to Tesla come suspiciously close to the end of the financial year and the end of the half year in terms of financial reporting. Because he said, tweet number 1 was, tax credit in the USA will drop from $7,500 to $1,875 after June 30.
Get ordering.
Order yours. Tesla.com. Black Model S to cost $1,000 starting next month, meaning get in and buy your black one now while it's free, because they might have a few on the ground. And there's a promo video out there for Beach Buggy Racing 2 for the arcade app on the car. So is all this heavy kind of get out there and buy one now, because Elon seems to be pretty confident that they're going to have a good second quarter result. Sure, he wants to hit that one home. So that's been the main focus of Twitter.
I watched somebody playing that beach buggy game in their car. Yeah, because the screen in the Model 3 is enormous. Yeah. You can play it.
That's right. You're using the pedals and the wheel to play the game.
My question is, you're going to get flat spots on your tyres if you play that enough.
In the garage.
Because the bottoms of the tyres are going to be in the same spot.
You've got to jack the front of the car up there.
Yeah.
Just a floor jack.
Play it while you're driving.
Yeah.
And then you just hang on. You could just drive the car.
Yeah.
It's a new kind of autopilot
Yeah.
where you're actually thrown into beach buggy too.
Manual pilot.
So the Tesla shares are $226. That's up from $209 last week.
That's
so,
up a bit.
Yeah.
And Morgan Stanley, for one, is finding it hard to recommend. What do we say? What's our buy, sell, keep? What are we saying?
Morgan knows as well.
Morgan Stanley analyst Adam Jones said this week, we continue to believe Tesla is fundamentally overvalued, but potentially strategically undervalued.
What?
Meaning they don't know what to do. So
It's
Jonas
worth
cited
something.
Musk's
It's like
recent.
saying, put it, in a good way. It's like that, and then put it in a bad way. It's like that.
He cited Musk's recent bullish statements about the company's coming second quarter earnings report as a catalyst for Tesla's recent stock recovery. So that bump up has come from that. So there you go. If you're in the market, tell us how your shares are going. Have you bought any? Have you sold any recently? Have they been doing good things for you? Let us know. But
Give me a call. I need some tips.
I
Have they been
think
helping
with
around
that,
the house?
we have reached the finish line. Thank you, M4.
Thank you.
And thank you, Richard. Thanks to our producer, Georgia, for making us look like we kind of know what we're doing. Get involved and let us know what you think of us or what we've been rabbiting on about. Search for CarsGuide on Facebook and Instagram using the hashtag CGPodcast or email us at comments@carsguide.com.au. If you're a listener, remember you can watch us on YouTube to add some colour and movement to the experience. Best comment for the week this week, no science involved, just our subjective judgment. The best comment gets a U-Butte CarsGuide Sub-Zero Cool flat brim cap.
One
for
of
their
these.
efforts. One of those. So it'd be coming your way if you can come up with the best comment on YouTube. And please do us a favour. If you're enjoying the podcast, let word of mouth off the chain and tell others about the tools. Until next week, there's a lot of talk about alternative transport, and if listeners or viewers are interested in time travel and fancy a night out, they should meet me at the Strawberry Hills Hotel in Sydney last Friday night at 8 p.m.
See you there.
See you there. It was great. And it will be great.
What?